My name is Josh McBride, and I'm going to be giving you a presentation about human population, our overpopulation problem, how it's affecting our society and ultimately the world as a whole. To begin, to drive home this point, a sad statistic, a sad fact, in the year 1970, the human race officially, scientifically was proven to have reached a point where we were consuming resources on the planet faster than the planet was able to replenish them. So since 1970 on, we have lived in a world of deficits. We are in a world in the red. So how does this put into context our overpopulation problem? Well, I'm going to go over the past, the present, and the future, and how the milestones and where we've been as a population in the past is going to tell us where we're going in the future and the problems that will come from that, both today and tomorrow. And not to leave you too demoralized, I will discuss briefly some solutions that are being put in place today and solutions for tomorrow that are going to help address this issue. To begin with the past, in the year 1804, approximately, the human race reached a population of 1 billion, shortly after America was founded. In the year 1927, the human population reached 2 billion, a little over 120 years. In 1960, we reached 3, a little over 30. In 1974, we reached 4, just under 15. Now, I hope you can appreciate the correlation here that the population is increasing at an exponential rate. The more of us there are, the faster we make more of us. It seems to be a problem. So, that's our past. When I was born in 1980, we still lived in a world of 4 billion-ish people. We now are in a world today where we're approaching 8 billion, right around the bend. Which leads us to today. There has been proven fact that the distribution of wealth in the world, the socioeconomic disparity between the haves and the have-nots. We live in a world of finite resources. We learned that the hard way in 1970. It is a breeding ground for almost all the problems you can think of, be famine, disease, terrorism, social instability. A lot of our problems can be boiled down to the fact that there's just too many of us and not enough to go around. On the good side, modern nations, as they're called, are beginning to plateau in terms of population. Developing nations, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa and in India, they are right now going at an alarming rate still because they're attempting to catch up, which we'll discuss shortly. What does that mean for the future? Well, for the future, best case scenario, by the end of the century, they're expecting anywhere from 9 to 10 billion people. Best case. Worst case, 12 to 14. And if there's already not enough to go around today, and it's leading to problems of social instability and violence and disease in our world today, what does that mean for tomorrow? So these are problems that are going to have to be addressed. It's not negotiable. Even best case scenario, it only is really just postponing the inevitable. So what are solutions that are in place? And for context, before I go any further, these are some figures I'll go over since I realize I have time. This is where we are right now. The purple line represents modern time, 2010 when it was published. But you can see where the world population in gray is at. This represents worst case. This represents best case. I don't think that's even remotely going to happen. So, as I said before, this is not a very remotely accurate representation. There's a lot of pipe dreams attached to that. This is a more practical expectation of what we can see. So what can we do? What are the solutions to our problems so you're not so depressed? Well, birth control and women's rights are being proven to be the two main driving factors behind curbing a population growth, stabilizing a population. In the modern world, North America, in Western Europe, and in the Orient, we're seeing plateauing populations. They're stabilizing. They're living within sustainable means now, or at least the problem is being solved for now. The real battle is in developing nations, and we're making some progress. Here are some of the major developing nations in which birth control and women's rights, well, this is focusing on birth control, but the big problem in the developing world is birth control has a social taboo attached to it, and a lot of these developing cultures are having difficulties addressing women's rights. Some don't even have women's rights. So it's really, the battle is one community at a time, one culture at a time, making them understand that it is better for everyone. And it helps the population slow down, and it gets our population in a more manageable level. And it is the most elegant solution that we have at our disposal today to address this problem before it becomes a catastrophe for the future. So, in conclusion, we're talking about birth control and women's rights are our I cannot stress how important it is that this be at the forefront in developing nations to help them get their populations under control. There are a lot of people who are uncomfortable with birth control programs. They're uncomfortable even in some places with women's rights policies. If we do not do this, if we permit our governments to continue adopting a wait-and-see policy because they feel uncomfortable addressing this social issue, then it's only going to make the problem worse later on, which will lead to a much more ugly solution. You can look at China, forced sterilization, one-child-only laws. Those are realities over there. We need to, I urge you, please consider this and make sure that you can spread the word. This is something that needs to be addressed. Thank you for your time. My audience, once again.
You didn't even look at note cards.
Huh?
You didn't even look at note cards.
They distract me more than anything else. Why am I looking at my presentation?